Hello and thanks for joining us on Encore. Coming up on today's film show, a fantastically funny family feature. Viggo Mortensen steals the show in Captain
How
Fantastic.
did you kill those chickens? With an axe?
Bonjour, vous êtes le docteur Davin?
The Dardennes brothers are back
Mahmoud,
with
brigade
another
judiciaire.
social drama as a young doctor gets emotionally entwined in a mysterious death.
Je l'ai entendu.
And Catherine Deneuve is the lady of the moment in Lyon. The actress is being honoured at the Lumière festival, named for the city's most brilliant cinematic sons. For all of that, I'm joined by Lisa Nesselson, our film critic. Hi, Lisa.
Hello, Olivia.
We're starting with a film out this week in France. It's an American feature, Captain Fantastic. This was a hit at Sundance and also in a smaller part of the Cannes Film Festival. Does it deserve all the acclaim it's got?
Oh, indeed it does. In fact, if I worked at the poster blurb factory, I'd say Captain Fantastic is fantastic. In September, it won the audience prize at the Deauville Festival of American Film here in France, and that is really high praise because the incredibly crowd-pleasing Sing Street was also eligible for that award. So, Viggo Mortensen plays the father of 6 gorgeous children who have incredibly strange names. Their parents wanted them to feel unique, but nobody makes fun of them at school because they don't go to school. They live in the woods in the Pacific Northwest. They are homeschooled in everything from ancient history to modern political movements, and thanks to rock climbing and swimming and hunting and killing their own food, they're in the same physical condition as elite athletes. They celebrate Noam Chomsky Day instead of Christmas. They are smart, they're fearless, they're independent. They read books by firelight instead of playing video games or fiddling with their cell phones. It is a wonderful way to learn. But when tragedy strikes, is it enough? Let's take a look.
She hasn't been gone very long.
Actually, it's been 3 months, 2 weeks, 6 days, and 11 hours.
Mom is very ill.
Don't talk to us like we're your inferiors.
Bo is right. Mom needs to be in the hospital right now.
But you said hospitals are only a great place to go if you're a healthy person and you want to die.
You said Americans are undereducated and overmedicated.
You said that AMA are avaricious whores only tooling to spread their fat legs for Big Pharma.
All of those things are true, but Mom does not have enough of the neurotransmitter serotonin to conduct electrical signals in her brain.
Exactly when is Mom coming back?
That's what I'm going to go find out.
Well, I know there are many, many different approaches to education, but in terms of homeschooling, there must be some downsides as well.
Well, when you think about it, until fairly recently in human history, homeschooling was the only kind of schooling there was. But I'm willing to bet that if you went back in time and showed just some typical footage of Donald Trump to everybody from the maid who emptied the chamber pots at Versailles to the stable boy in the era of Gilgamesh, they'd say, there's something seriously wrong with that man, and if I had the vote, I wouldn't vote for him in a million years. That's education. The kids in this movie are incredibly smart, but they are book smart. So they haven't been socialized in the standard ways. They're exceptional, also at a disadvantage. To give you an example, the eldest son proposes marriage to the first girl he kisses because he thinks that's the proper and courtly thing to do.
Romantic.
This is original. It's involving. It generated mental sparks for me. It's funny, it's touching, it's sad. And you get to see Viggo Mortensen completely full-frontally naked with a laconic line of dialogue every bit as chiseled as he is.
Right, okay. Well, we're going from the perils of being off-grid in the middle of the forest to being slightly off-grid in the middle of an urban centre. Now, the Dardennes brothers, we know them well. They're the darlings of European cinema. They've come back with a new social drama. It's called The Unknown Girl. And what should we know about this film?
Well, first as documentary filmmakers and then as the authors of these realistic fictional features, Jean-Pierre and Luc Dardennes have been co-writing, co-directing, and co-producing serious movies completely anchored in the reality of difficult lives and moral choices for almost 40 years. They've won the top prize in Cannes, the Golden Palm, twice, and they were in competition again this year with The Unknown Girl, which I have to say many of my colleagues found disappointing. I didn't. I found it involving, haunting, although it's perhaps too methodical, and it's not exactly what you'd call a date movie unless your idea of a date is to sit and examine human misery, as in some people lead comfortable lives and others subsist in dire straits. We all know that, of course, but in film after film, through an accretion of details, the Dardennes really bring that home. So Adèle Haenel plays a doctor. She has the kind of medical practice that a great many physicians here in France and in Belgium have. She's a one-woman show. There's no receptionist, there's a waiting waiting room. There's an office, which is also an examination room. She's a general practitioner in the section of Liège in French-speaking Belgium, where all of the Dardennes films are set. So it's working middle class, working poor, and just plain non-working. And one night, well after closing time, someone rings the bell. Her intern is going to answer, and she says, no, we've had a very long day. That's okay, which seems like a perfectly normal decision under the circumstances, but it's a decision from which the entire film flows. The next day, very nearby, the police find the body of a woman, a black woman with no ID. The doctor realizes that the dead woman is the same person who rang her bell. Her calling is to save lives, but she has absolutely inadvertently probably contributed to the death of another human being. Let's take a look.
Je l'ai entendu. Julien, le stagiaire, voulait ouvrir, mais j'ai pas voulu. C'était plus d'une heure après la fin des consultations.
Vous ne pouvez pas savoir. Ne pas ouvrir une heure après la fermeture, c'est normal. Vous avez vu son visage sur l'écran de votre parlophone?
Non. On était dans l'annexe du cabinet.
On voit sortir un garçon avec son vélo, c'est votre stagiaire?
Oui.
On va vous montrer les images. Si vous la connaissez, ça peut nous aider beaucoup parce qu'on n'a rien trouvé sur elle. Ni papier, ni GSM.
Well, that character is undeniably haunted by the death of this woman, but surely it's the job of the police to investigate this sort of thing.
True enough, but the doctor becomes obsessed with trying to find out who the dead woman was. She gives up the comfort of her apartment to sleep on a mattress in her office. It's as if she believes she no longer deserves her life because she has somehow, this other woman has been deprived of hers. So it's a detective story with lots of characters, leads, dead ends, and a solution where it's least expected.
Mm-hmm. Well, we're moving to Lyon now, the true home of cinema, of course, because that was where the Lumiere brothers were born, the men credited with giving birth themselves to cinema as we know it. Their hometown is hosting the Lumière Festival, and that's on till October 16th.
This is a massive, insanely well-attended event devoted to showing good movies, mostly older ones, to the general public. This is the 8th edition, and the Prix Lumière honoree is Catherine Deneuve this year. Now, this is one of the rarest distinctions in global filmdom, because there's a lot of people running around who have Oscars, but there are only 7 other people to have gotten one of these so far. Clint Eastwood was the first recipient, and this prize was invented by director Bertrand Tavernier and the festival director Thierry Frémaux, and the mission statement, I think, is lovely. I quote, "Because it's important to express our gratitude to those artists who are part of our lives, the Prix Lumière is a distinction based on the passage of time, recognition over the long haul, and admiration."
And that's certainly the case of Catherine Deneuve, who's followed many French people throughout their cinema experience.
You can say that again. How do you keep a festival going for 9 days devoted primarily to older or heritage films? Well, by never dismissing movies as old or useless in the first place. France helps maintain a taste for film heritage and discovery nurtured by the fact that there are roughly 6,000 screens in France, and over 1,000 of them are what we would call art houses. So the general public is not scared off by black and white or by subtitles or any of that stuff. The Lumiere brothers were inventors and industrialists who ran a large factory which manufactured photographic plates for still photography. And that's that factory that you see in the very first Lumiere film back in 1895 with the workers leaving it. The vestiges of that building were saved in extremis, as was their home, which is now the Lumiere Museum, which you can and should visit. A wonderful man named Bernard Charder founded it. He also founded the film magazine Positif, and a man named Thierry Frémaux runs it. Now, who is Mr. Frémaux? He also happens to be the artistic director of the Cannes Film Festival.
I thought I'd heard that name.
The same energetic guy who started as an unpaid volunteer at the Lumiere Institute now programs the world's biggest film festival of professionals, and also this festival, a huge celebration for cinema for ordinary film enthusiasts in theaters, some of them which hold thousands and thousands of people and sell out.
Well, lucky residents of Lyon. Now, you mentioned Bertrand Tavernier. He's releasing a documentary this week here in France, and it's named A Journey Through French Cinema. Now, that journey comes in at just over 3 hours. Is this a trip worth taking?
You know, there are movies from the entertainment assembly line that anybody reasonably competent could have made. And then there are films that would not exist if the person who made them had not made them. This is such a film. A Journey Through French Cinema is a personal essay by critic turned director Tavernier. Now, I don't always like the fictional films he makes, but I was absolutely swept away by this one. It certainly does not feel like it lasts 3 hours. He speaks on camera about his formative years in Lyon and how they were intertwined with his discovery of cinema and what it could do. And it is riveting. You sense a vocation, a sensibility forming. Since it's his movie, he talks about absolutely absolutely whatever it pleases him to talk about, and yet there's nothing rambling or undisciplined about the finished product. It's like a guided tour of one guy's life with stops along the way to praise or reconsider specific French movies and directors. Now, you've heard of the auteur theory, what the French call the politique des auteurs, which is the idea that a film director is an artist whose work carries an undeniable artistic stamp. In the English-speaking world, for example, it's not difficult to recognize a film made by Tim Burton or by Woody Allen. So, Tavernier holds forth on French directors you may or may not have heard of, and he illustrates his insights with excerpts from the films in question, and his voice is as distinctive as his viewpoint. After seeing Tavernier's talk, I ran into Tom Luddy, the man who programs the Telluride Film Festival in the United States. He was in the lobby of a Cannes hotel, and he was just in a terrible mood. He said, look at French cinema now, at the way somebody who, say, has just eaten a bland tomato, knowing perfectly well that there were tasty tomatoes in his youth. I think French cinema has some promising years ahead of it, days, but Tavernier does a terrific job of helping us taste its glorious past.
Well, he certainly set the tone for many years and many young film directors as well. Lisa, thank you so much for joining us this week. We'll leave you with a part of that journey, a journey through French cinema. Remember, you can get more movie news on our website. You can also keep up with Encore on social media. There's more news coming up on France 24 after this.
Une seule chose est importante, de faire un pas, même si c'est un tout petit pas.
Moi, ce que j'ai de bien, c'est mon gauche.